Michael Saylor had a Twitter exchange with Elon Musk this past December where he urged Musk to make really this exact move. MicroStrategy owns about 71,000 Bitcoins, now worth about $3 billion. Joining us now to discuss is MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor. Michael, great to have you back on. And let's just get right to that news of the day. Did you actually talk with Elon Musk offline and share your playbook from, as you put it, one rocket scientist to another?
You know, there are business rules regarding how public company officers are allowed to communicate to the public. And, so I'm constrained in what I can say, but
that's not
you know what we said on Twitter, and you know what I've been saying all along, which is it's a great idea.
All right, that's not a no. It's not a yes either. So between this move, or I guess because of this move with Tesla today, I'd imagine you're feeling pretty vindicated in your strategy and really what I think the vote of confidence of Musk buying into Bitcoin kind of implies here. I wonder, though, how you would respond to critics who would say that given the volatility of Bitcoin, we just touched on that, the risks associated with it as an asset class, that you are not only putting the company at risk, but shareholders' investments at risk. How would you respond?
Well, first of all, they were very measured in this. They have plenty of excess liquidity in U.S. dollars. And so I don't think there's any criticism of what they've done. Companies that are converting their dollars into Bitcoin are taking a non-performing asset and they're turning it into the best performing asset. Bitcoin's been appreciating at something like 230% year after year after year for a decade. And so this is part of the digital transformation. They're taking an analog monetary asset and converting it into a digital asset. And ultimately, over the long term, that's going to be good for the business.
Yeah, I mean, I get that Bitcoin has appreciated pretty dramatically, especially in the last couple of months, but it has been extremely volatile as well. So how do you yourself think about that, and how do you discuss that with other companies that are potentially looking to get involved and convert their cash to Bitcoin?
Well, if you take the long view over the decade, you're going to have either a stable loss of 75% of your shareholder value if you hold the money in cash, or you're going to have a volatile appreciation that may very well be doubling every 6 months. And so I'd rather have a volatile appreciation at 200% a year than a stable depreciation at the rate of 15 to 20% a year.
What does Musk going into Bitcoin mean for investors and for the future of the digital currency?
Well, I think in the current macroeconomic environment, most corporations are beginning to realize that their cash is going to be a depreciating asset, and they need to turn their balance sheet into an appreciating asset. So the obvious thing to do is to convert dollars that are being inflated at, expanded to 15% a year into a scarce digital asset. And that's what Bitcoin is. So Elon Musk is very progressive and Tesla is very progressive. I think this is part of a trend toward the digital transformation of balance sheets as people move from analog, traditional treasury assets like cash and bonds into Bitcoin.
Let's double click on that. You're talking about a digital transformation of the balance sheets. And of course, we know, I guess historically, folks have been pretty conservative about the balance sheet. You did have a seminar last week. I want to kind of elaborate a bit more on the pitch that you're giving to executives on this, and what is kind of the hurdle that must be overcome for them to get comfortable with adding this digital asset to their balance sheets?
Well, I mean, the pitch is Bitcoin is digital gold, and it's sitting on the world's first digital monetary network. That network does the job of gold 1,000,000 times better than gold. You can move it at the speed of light. You can program it 1,000,000 times a second. And it's been appreciating versus the US dollar more than 200% a year on average for a decade. So I think at this point, Bitcoin has emerged as the institutional safe haven asset. If you're a corporation and you generate $1 billion in cash flow and you buy back your stock, you're $1 billion closer to insolvency. If you borrow $1 billion to buy back your stock, you're $2 billion closer to insolvency. If you want to run your company to the benefit of your shareholders, of your customers, of your employees, and of your local community over the long run, you can't decapitalize the company. And in the modern era, cash is becoming a liability because the money supply is expanding at 15%, and the purchasing power of the cash keeps degrading. Holding a 15% degrading asset for 8 years means you lose 75% of shareholder value. So the pitch is convert your balance sheet from a liability into an asset to the benefit of your stakeholders and use the world's first digital monetary network to do it. Bitcoin was engineered to do this.
I do want to kind of bring this topic up with you. Elon Musk, of course, has been tweeting a lot about cryptocurrencies, Doge in particular, also adding hashtag Bitcoin to his Twitter profile. And if you look back a couple years ago, there were some issues around tweeting about Tesla, taking Tesla private. There's a whole SEC settlement involved there. So what do you think of regulations in this space? And when you see more publicly traded companies add it to their balance sheet and how they can kind of talk about it on social media, do you think we'll see regulations come in? And if so, what should those look like?
Well, I think there's been a great advance in regulatory clarity over the past few years. I think the IRS and the SEC have both designated Bitcoin as property, and I think that's been very good for the asset class. I think that we can expect a few more regulatory advances that'll provide more clarity. And as Bitcoin approaches regulatory parity with other types of assets like stocks and bonds and gold, I think it's going to remove the few remaining barriers that have given institutions pause. I think 1,000 institutions, 1,000 corporations started adopting Bitcoin as an asset for investment in the past 12 months. I think there'll be an avalanche of thousands more that'll be coming as they start to see that this is a very high quality Treasury Reserve asset on parity with other assets.
You know, it's one thing, Michael, to talk about companies investing in Bitcoin and seeing it take off on Wall Street. Quite another to see it be adopted and go mainstream on Main Street. Today, we saw Twitter's CFO come out and say in an interview that they're thinking about playing in Bitcoin to the extent that they might actually pay vendors and employees in the cryptocurrency if they ask for it. What do you think some of the hurdles are to getting there? How do we get the consumers to buy in on the idea that Bitcoin could possibly take on the US dollar?
Well, you know, I don't think Bitcoin is going to take on the US dollar. I think that cryptocurrency is a misnomer. Bitcoin's digital gold. What Bitcoin is doing is rapidly replacing gold as a non-sovereign store of value. We've already got something on the order of 120 to 150 million people in the world using Bitcoin as digital gold. I think that number is going to rapidly march through 200 million, and we'll have 1 billion people that want to hold digital gold on a mobile device in the next 5 years. So when you think about it, I think the right way to think of it is I want to convert my long-term treasury reserves into something which is 1 million times better than gold that moves at the speed of light. And it doesn't matter if you're a company or you're an individual or an institutional investor, they all have the same problem, which is how do I preserve my monetary energy over long periods of time? Expenditures day to day that you would normally do in dollars, people will continue to do in dollars. The payment rails are going to be MasterCard and Visa and PayPal and Square Cash. The euro and the dollar are going to do just fine. I think that the people that ought to be really concerned are gold bugs. Anybody that's storing their money in gold is got a big bullseye on their forehead, and that's at risk.
Michael, I guess one last question before I let you go. I should point out that you are the longest serving publicly traded company, CEO of an enterprise software company. So you've obviously experienced a lot. You mentioned earlier digital transformation, now digital transformation of the balance sheet. And I kind of want to bring this up with you and tie it in here. How do you think about this kind of generational shift? I've seen surveys at least a couple of years ago, kind of how more millennials favor cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, things like that. But as you kind of go up in older generations, not so much. So how do you kind of think about it as also a generational play here for companies?
Well, you know, I think the millennials, they discover things quickest. I mean, it was college students that found Facebook, but eventually everybody joined Facebook. I think it was 20-somethings that loved texting on mobile phones, but eventually Warren Buffett bought Apple stock. I think that millennials love Bitcoin because it's digital gold, and there's no way that 100 million people can buy a bar of gold through their mobile phone, but they are buying digital gold on Square Cash or PayPal or the like. But having said it all, they're just the vanguard. Eventually, the entire society is going to buy this. Institutions are coming into it. The Generation Xers are coming into it. And so it's an idea whose time has come. The millennials are leading the way.
All right, thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something new today on investing. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to destroy the like button, and as usual, if I missed anything, drop it down in the comment section below. And if you're new here, please subscribe for more videos and real investing advice. Check out some of my other videos from my investing playlist where I talk about the most important topics and teach you what to do. So, until next time, stay the course and keep investing on a regular basis.